Hello, everyone. This is Phil Legier here with Alex Lavoie
What's up, guys?
for the ComicHunter.net, and today we'll be playing in a modern daily event, and hopefully it's going to go better than last time.
It can't go worse than last time, Phil.
So today we're actually playing Black Green, which is what we're both thinking about playing in Grand Prix Boston, which is coming up in about a month. So this is actually pretty much the exact list that I've been playing recently.
With the exception of the option Bailoff, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah. So yeah, there's just one card difference. So basically, so we're playing Black Green. Obviously, this is kind of like Jund, obviously. So first of all, in our 1-drop slot, we've got our 7 discard spells. You play the 3 Thoughtseize because you don't take damage from Inquisition, and it's like generally almost as good.
Yeah, there aren't that many cards that Inquisition doesn't hit in the format, so Inquisition is usually just fine.
Yeah. Then the 2-drop slot is kind of where a lot of your power's at. So obviously, Abrupt Decay is really awesome.
Yeah, because we're not playing red, we don't have Bolt, and that pretty much forces us to max out on Abrupt Decays.
Yeah, and you'll see since we're on removal, we're also playing the 2 Maelstrom Pulses, which are pretty much catch-all, it's actually a really awesome card. And we've got the 2 Dismember and the Slaughter Pact. Then for creatures, we've got the pretty standard 4 Dark Confidant, 4 Tarmogoyf. But now with Born of the Gods, you get to play Courser of Kuthix.
Yeah, and I personally think that Courser is probably the worst card in the deck, but when you consider that Courser is the worst card in the deck, you're doing pretty fine, I think.
Yeah, I haven't been too impressed with it so far, but I will say I did get to play it on turn 3 against an aggro deck where it was just completely shut down his board of 3/3s.
Yeah, Courser's actually pretty good in the matchups that you need him in.
Yeah.
And you can sideboard him out when you don't, so it's fine.
Yeah. And then, so obviously Dark Confidant, Tarmogoyf. Scavenging Ooze is really strong.
It's basically Tarmogoyf 5 through 7.
Yeah, and plus really solid against Living End and Snapcaster Mage decks. But Snapcaster Mage decks generally not a problem because Thrun the Last Troll is really awesome in that matchup.
He is a house.
Yeah, there's not a lot of times they don't really have a way to deal with them. There's pretty much just Wrath of God.
Exactly.
And opposing Lilianas, but you can kind of play around that most of the time, since we do play some pretty sweet lands.
Yeah, and speaking of Liliana...
Yeah, so we're playing 4 because sweetest Planeswalker since Chase the Mind Sculptor.
Exactly.
So moving on to our lands, you just play 6 fetch lands. We're only playing 2 colors, so it's not that big of a deal. We've got the 4 Verdant Catacombs and the 2 Marsh Flats. Just the 2 Swamps and the Forest for basics. 2 Twilight Mires because we're trying to hit double green and double black. Triple Overgrown Tomb. The Urborg, so we can hit our black requirements more easily.
And because we're only playing 2 colors, we get to play what I think is probably the best thing the deck has to offer is Tech Edge. And this allows you to bring both players down to a certain amount of resources, and this deck just operates on few resources better than all the other decks. So Tech Edge is, to me, one of the best cards in the deck.
Yeah, you also get to run Treetop Village as a 4 of, which, arguably better than Raging Ravine. The nice thing about Tech Edge is, if you're playing in the somewhat mirror, Treetop Village, you can kind of get their Lilianas a lot easier than with Raging Ravine.
Absolutely.
And, it's just way less of a mana investment. And since we don't have to worry about double red or anything in this deck, we can afford to max out on that.
Yep. So moving on to the sideboard, we have 2 Grafdigger's Cages against the Pod matchups, which I think is probably one of our tougher matchups. Grafdigger's Cage stops Pod and Court of Calling, and as well as Persist. So it stops all of the powerful interactions that deck is trying to do. We have a 4th Thoughtseize for the control decks and the combo decks. Back to Nature, this is mostly for the Boggles deck. the Boggles deck is not a great matchup. We do have Liliana's, but on turn 3, that's sometimes too slow. So the Back to Nature just a blowout against that deck.
And they play like Dryad Arbor too.
Absolutely,
So they
yeah.
can like. Another thing I'm wondering about Back to Nature, it might. Do you like it against Merfolk? Because I feel like Spreading Seas is really annoying.
Well, we have like Abrupt Decays and
Yeah.
stuff like that, so I've never played against that deck yet, so we'll see. But at the moment, I don't think I would want it.
Yeah.
The Glory Charm, it's pretty versatile, so it's decent against all the small aggro decks. Destroys enchantments, so it's decent against the twin deck. Drown Sorrow, same thing against aggro decks. It's pretty good against the pod deck. They play a lot of really small creatures, and this can sometimes 3 or 4 for 1 them. Fulminator Mage, really good against Tron, all the blue-white and blue-white-red control decks. Scape Shift, absolutely. And then we have our 3 Creeping Corrosions. Because we're not playing red, we don't get to play... what's that card called? Ancient Grudge, there you go.
Yeah.
So we need a really powerful effect against the Affinity deck, and Creeping Corrosion is the best card that green gives us access to. The Batterskull is just a really good card in the grindy matchups. The Mirror or against Jund, we're always going to be bringing in the Batterskull. And finally, the Obstinate Bailoff used to be a Kitchen Finks, but we switched it up just because of the online meta that we're expecting.
Yeah, I think it's probably pretty solid against Burn, which I saw did pretty well in some recent Premier events. And also, I don't know how I feel about just a 1-of Kitchen Things. Like, I feel like that's something... It's kind of weird as a 1-of card, but, like, you see Obstinate Bailoff as a 1-of a lot more often, because it's also really good against black decks that make you discard cards, so...
Absolutely.
So, yeah, we're going to try this. The event's starting in about 5 minutes, so hope you guys enjoy it.